My name is Marisa Vasquez, and I work with Phoenix House. I'll explain a little bit about Phoenix House if you haven't joined any of the other Lunch and Learns. And then we also have Ana Lombardo on the call as well, that she'll be assisting, adding any other great knowledge that she knows. A lot of this information is pulled from our Strengthening Families program. But I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started. Okay. So if you haven't already followed us on social media, we do have our Instagram page at Phoenix House TX, and then we also have a Facebook page, Phoenix House Texas. On these pages, we share a lot of information that we're doing out in the community. We also share information about the Turn 2 campaign, which is a campaign, social media campaign that is sponsored by Health and Human Services Commission. That's our funders for all of our programs that Phoenix House offers, so that they give us the funding to make sure that we're able to provide all of our services for free to the communities that we serve. Just a little bit about Phoenix House. So our prevention programs and education services highlight the dangers of drug use, reinforce self-image, and educate teens to make positive choices. We deliver these in a variety of settings. They could be in school settings. It can also be in community settings, alternative programs, just anywhere and everywhere we're at, health fairs. There's two main programs that we primarily offer to the communities and schools. The first one we have is our Life Skills Training Program, which is a school-based program for 3rd through 12th graders. The lessons range from either 8 sessions up to 15 sessions. It just kind of depends on the grade level, but there we're talking a lot about social emotional learning, prevention, teaching prevention skills. Then we also have our Strengthening Families program, which is an after-school program that we offer to the entire family. It's a 11-week program where we meet once a week for 11 weeks. We provide dinner, and then we have a session that we go over with the entire family. And then we also provide these standalone presentations like we've been doing with Louisville ISD, where we come in and maybe do a short series or just maybe, one presentation, because we just want to make sure that we're able to get out as much information as possible. So today we are going to be talking about healthy parent-child and teen relationships. I kind of threw child in there because a lot of the information that I'll be sharing with can be used for a parent with any age child. There are going to be some slides in a video that I'll show at the end that are going to be more specific to teens, but as I mentioned before, a lot of the information I'll be sharing can be used all across the board. And my contact information is there in case you want to email me or call me if you have any additional questions, or if there's an opportunity for us to share some of this information with other communities that you're involved with. So let's go ahead and get started. So good parent and teen-child relationships include respect, understanding, trust, and concern. We can build good relationships with our children by spending time together, keeping promises, using humor, and appreciating their efforts and strengths. There have been studies that shown that children are less likely to take risks if they have good relationships with their parents. So the Strengthening Families program that I was mentioning before talks a lot about the information we'll be covering today, and just really learning on how to talk to each other, how to try to make some time with each other, and how to also have conversation starters as well. You can always do a conversation jar. That also helps. You can find different resources online where you can print them out, and then, or you don't even have to. You can actually just, if you have paper at home and a jar, just write down some questions or some, prompts, and those usually are pretty helpful for those conversation starters. So let's start talking about how does having a good relationship with me benefit my child's health and development. There's many reasons why a good parent-child relationship is important in keeping children safe and healthy. Research shows that when we are close with our children, they are less likely to get in trouble at school, and also get in trouble with things such as drugs, drinking, and smoking. By having a strong relationship with us, our children are also more likely to accept our supervision, adopt our values and our ideals, and follow our rules, even when we're not around. So this just kind of goes back to what I was saying about how there's been, some studies showing that the closer a child feels to their parents, then they're more like, less likely to, maybe engage in riskier behavior or even, being, out, having, anger, issues, all of those things. And it's really, part of it is just, straight up communication. That's kind of the hardest thing that, we can have, that people may have with their children or just in general, is really knowing how to communicate. We just have to, it's the things that sometimes we pick up, some of us have naturally, and sometimes it just takes some of us some time to learn. But really, like I said, just really having like a lot of open lines of communication is helpful. So, what are the qualities of a good parent-child relationship? Respect for one another. So, making sure that both parties are respecting each other. That even entails boundaries, which we'll talk a little bit later. Understanding each other's feelings, knowing that maybe if something doesn't bother you, it might it may be something that bothers them, and vice versa. Maybe it doesn't bother them, but it's bothering you. We all are different. We all react differently to situations, and we all have different feelings. So just knowing that, trying to be, more empathetic with understanding each other's feelings, being able to trust each other. And, it can be hard because there's a lot of, situations that youth can get themselves into, especially when they're in their teenage years. But, I think it's very important that as parents that parents learn to trust their child and give them, just give them a little trial. Sometimes I kind of reflect back to when I was a teenager myself, when my mom, she actually never set a curfew for us. And people would be surprised, but then again, we knew what time we needed to be home. So that helped build a lot of trust within our family dynamic. But yeah, like I said, trust is a huge thing. Also having concern for each other's well-being, and also just checking in on everybody's well-being is very helpful. Just kind of when we're in the schools, I always try to encourage the youth to ask how the parents are doing, because I know they get asked by their parents and family members how what's going on and how they're doing, but I always encourage them also to do the same, because everybody should be, have some idea of what how everyone's doing. Also, knowing each other, what each other is like, what each other wants, and what each other likes and dislikes as well. So really getting to know each other. Yes, you brought up your child. You probably have a good, idea of what they like and dislike, but sometimes we have to ask them, is it something you really like? And also, it's important for kids to be able to be open about that, and also for them to speak up if they feel like if something's going on that they're not really into or they're disliking. I know sometimes with because come up in some conversations with kids about food. They're like, well, my parents, they make this, but I don't really like it. And I'm like, well, have you ever shared with them that you don't? And it can be hard, right? Because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But, if it's something that they're not really into or liking, I think it's important for everybody to share, how they're feeling, and just so that everybody's kind of on the same page. And I'm just going to stop here and just see if there's any questions, or Anna, if you wanted to chime in on anything so far.
Yeah, what you're saying is great about the qualities of a good parenting. We're not, given instructions as parents. I'm a parent myself, but I have a grown son, but I do have grandchildren, so I have the chance of, finding out what kinds of things I didn't do with my son that I can do with my grandchildren. And thankfully they have great parents, so I can entrust them in the things they do and just follow through with what they are doing and respecting their parenting skills and being there just to make sure that I monitor them in the best safe way I can and being there to talk to them. Things.
All right, thank you so much, Anna. All right. So the next thing is, what are some tips for parents for building a good relationship with children? So here we're going to be talking about several different things. So we're going to go through all these different areas where, tips that might be helpful. Um, and so the first one would be stay connected. We should touch base with our children regularly, even when everything is going smoothly. We can let our children know what's going on in our lives and find out what they're up to. Staying connected regularly with our children is also one of the most important things we can do as parents. Children feel their parents care about them when we take interest in what's happening in their lives. Children, like all people, don't want to feel ignored. So that's kind of like what I was saying earlier, just kind of checking in to see how they're doing on a daily basis and vice versa. Them checking in as well, because when they see that you're showing interest or, if you're, especially if they're talking about something that you may not even have interest in, it's okay to, just kind of, as we say, humor them a little bit and, just ask more questions. If they see that you are really engaged, in what they're talking about, then they may, be able to open up more if they are kind of like on the quiet side or shy side. Because yes, yeah, as we know, nobody wants to feel ignored or feel like they're being left out at any point. Also, spend time together. Families are very busy these days between jobs, chores, and other things. There often is little time left over for enjoying each other's company. We need to grab whatever time we can to be with our children. It will help us occupy some of our children's free time, and we will get to know our children better. It will help us build good relationships and let our children know who we care. One mother, for example, she might be playing basketball with her child, even though she's terrible at it. Whatever it takes, even if it's just once a week or if it's just a drive to the store together, your child will notice if you make time together. Um, and some of the other previous discussions or the part of the series we've had, I've talked about during our Strengthening Families program that our program is typically about 2 hours long, 30 minutes. We have the first 30 minutes, we have the families sit together and they eat a meal together. And then the last hour and a half is when they're doing the class together as well. And what I really enjoy about that, and I think a lot of the families do enjoy about it as well, is the fact that for at least 2 hours once a week, they are spending time together and actually having a meal together, because that can be a challenging thing for some families, especially with all the different activities and if they have multiple jobs. Finding time just to even have a family meal together can be a challenge. But as it says here, just find whatever time you can. So I think really it's quality over quantity kind of in these situations where even if you have 30 minutes to spend with them alone, especially and alone too, because if you have multiple children or if there's more than one child in the family, it's also good to try to find that time to spend with each child individually as well. But whatever little time you have, it's important to try to take as full advantage of that. And it could be like it says in the car, on their way home from school or on their way home on their way to some sort of activity. Just really like just trying to really set some time together. And this could also be the time where we were talking about not too long, I guess, in the last series or the few series ago about having also, family meeting times are important to kind of talk about what's going on in the week and what events are happening so that everybody knows, what the plan is for that week or month or however the family chooses to do so. Any other comments you would like to make on any of these, Anna?
No, I totally agree with all this. I'm staying connected and spending time together, especially spending that one-on-one time with each individual children. They all each have their own personalities. And so, sometimes they may feel left out, especially if there's older siblings and younger siblings. So we connect in different in different ways, and spending time just doing something you may not ordinarily do, um, and you can do it with them, it means a lot to them to at least know that you are interested in the things that they're doing.
Okay, thank you. And a really quick on, I'm sorry, I just saw your message. So is it not on slideshow mode? I'm sorry about that. I can change it.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was
Okay. All right, let me switch off real quick. Sorry about that. I didn't, sorry about that, y'all. All right. Is it let me go back. Okay, let's try this again. Bringing that up on. All right. Okay. Sound is that better, Anna?
it's still not on there. I think you tried it before. It just there you go. Yeah, much
Okay.
better.
Okay, thanks. All right. So also, keeping promises is very important. If we're not, we must, keep them at all possible. We're unable to keep our promises because of something we can't do about. We need to talk to our children about it. We need to tell them, um, we need to talk with our children about it. We need to tell them that we're sorry. Our children need to know that they can count on us to keep our word. This is an important part of gaining trust and respect. If we keep our word, they are much more likely to keep theirs as well. So if we're gonna, if we say something, then we need to really try to um, follow through with that as vice versa. If they're, you know, saying that they're going to do something, also hold them accountable as well. I know things come up. Sometimes we're not able to, maybe follow through for a variety of reasons, but it's okay, for us to just, if we can, be upfront with them, say like, hey, I'm sorry I said this, I'll make sure to, make it up, or I'll make sure to, that, just to, be very transparent with them. I guess that's what I'm trying to say as well. Also treat teens like teens. Although our teens are not adults yet, they are no longer children and should not be treated like them. We mustn't talk down to our teens. We must be honest with them. Statements like "you're too young to know about that" can be seen as respectful to a teen's ability to understand. So, knowing that there is a difference between teenage children, even tweens and teens, they're all in different age groups and they all are different, but just knowing that, that they are teens, they are growing individuals, and to just kind of, you know, um, as it says here, not really use those words of "you're too young to know that can be like pretty hurtful, or using any other common phrases as well. Also be thoughtful. Remember special days. It doesn't have to be marked with a gift or a special activity. We must let our children know we've remembered. Every now and then we can give our children special little surprises. We might leave a note, in their child's beds, or, maybe just a text message as well, because that's how they, a lot of them are more into the texting. Um, Also, just kind of expressing how much you care for them, or you might, make their favorite meals as well, just because, and learning, like I said, what their favorite meals are, because sometimes we may assume we know everything about them, but that may not be the case. So just doing little things, and as rewards or just doing things don't have to be material. They can be a high five, a hug, a praise of some sort. Also, if you have other children, having one, if they're old enough, to maybe sit in front, or of the car, like sitting shotgun, or just something like that, even simple little things, or letting them pick out if you'll have movie night or go to the movies or go to a restaurant, have them pick them out. Today they say like, hey, I want to, you've done really well this week. I think you should choose what movie we see or what restaurant we go to. So just little things like that. And I said, they don't necessarily have to be something you have to physically give them or buy for them either. Just, something thoughtful for them, and also recognize special efforts. We shouldn't take our children or the teens for granted. We need to praise their special efforts, such as doing well on a test, practicing hard for a game or performance, or being particular kind to someone as well. So just recognizing them, just saying, just so that they know that you're paying attention to what they're doing well. At times teens and children may feel that, parents only recognize the negative of them because that's what they hear mostly. And they also have selective hearing. I get it. They're going to hear what they want to hear. But just if families get in a habit of saying more positive things rather than the negative, then that can really change a parent, teen, and child relationship as well. Anna, did you want to add anything else to this?
I was just thinking, as teens, they don't like being told what to do. We do want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, it's the note thing is keep in mind they don't always know exactly. And, just having that structure and guiding them and just leaving those little bitty notes to say that, hey, I think I know that you know how to do this, but just in case, here's, some little advice that I can put on a note or things like that. But they still need guidance for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, thank you. All right. Also, tell them that you care. We love our children, but how often do we take time to tell them? We need to let our children know how much we care about them and love them every day. And we should make it a habit. So, and I understand in some families, this is something they constantly do. And then there's some families where it's hard to express emotions. So it's important for families, not just the parents, but also the children or anybody who else, lives in the family, because sometimes there's extended families that you share, how much you care about them and love them, just saying those simple words of I love you or however you want to express it, but just showing some sort of emotional support for them is great. Be supportive when our children have bad days. We can offer a shoulder to lean on. Even though our children want to be grown up, they still need our support, and it's important to listen to them sympathetically. So just being there for them, I would assume that or figure that a lot of parents would can kind of gauge when their child isn't having a good day just based on their reactions, facial expressions, body language, but just being there to support them, giving them a hug or even inquiring and when you inquire or ask, and it's sometimes the young kiddos or young adults or young teens don't want to really open up, just even asking and giving it a try. And if you can always say, hey, okay, if you don't want to talk about it, I get it, but just know that I'm here to, listen whenever you're ready to talk. Also avoid hurtful teasing. Sometimes we tease in a way that puts a person down. We can avoid teasing our children this way, especially in front of others. It really hurts. And at times, people may tease and this could also be seen as maybe like even using some sarcasm as well can be seen a different way to another person, even though you feel like that you're joking. As we know, kids and teens are always on emotional roller coasters. So just kind of being a little bit aware of how you say it and who you say it in front of too, because they are, they're very vulnerable and they're always constantly trying to, see who's around them. So it's important that if you're joking around with them and if they, sometimes they're some teens or children totally are cool with it, but also know, and you can also ask them like, hey, I said this, did it bother you? I just, I didn't want to either. Because sometimes we may have to check in and make sure that what we said wasn't hurtful because we might have thought it wasn't, but in their eyes, again, they may be feeling something differently. And then use humor and lighten up. We can use humor with our children and be willing to poke fun at ourselves at times. Joking around encourages a positive relationship. So as we know, laughter can really, bring a lot of joy, good, different type of good chemicals into our bodies as well. So just having fun, asking them like what they find funny, watching, ask them to what, if what shows they find funny or who they find funny, because sometimes what we find funny may not be funny to them, but also, just having a good time, just being very positive, lighthearted as well. Anna, did you want to add anything else to this one?
Yeah, we can be very caring, our teens, be supportive and feeling all of these things. A lot of teens don't know the difference between feeling sympathy or feeling empathetic. So it's good to tell them that, you know, being feeling sympathy for someone, doing something for them, feeling sorry for them, versus feeling empathy and actually putting yourselves in their shoes and understanding what they're going through. That way, they understand what that other person is experiencing, versus feeling sorry for them. So it's a good explanation, or just, you know, letting them know the difference between the two, so they can be mindful about it whenever they're having conflict with their friends, or their younger siblings, or even their parents.
Thank you. All right. So like I said, we have a ton of little, tips we're going to be going over today. So here we have a few more. So appreciate our child's special strengths. We must accept our children for who they are. Statements like, why can't you be more like your older brother, or your sister never gave me this much trouble? Um, don't really help a child do better. Such comments only make a child feel bad. Every child has special strengths. We must recognize these strengths and let our children know it. I think this is very important as well, because there we, if you especially have different, multiple children, or that where some families may start comparing one to the other, but we have to remember that every child is different. And even like I think of like a work setting too, where when the employers, they really try to build on a person's strengths rather than weaknesses. So they try to figure out what they're really good at, and then try to encourage and motivate that person to build on those skills. And of course, there's going to be some things that they may not be so good at, where you can kind of, motivate them. But really, like I said, I think this really highlights a good point about figuring out what your child is really good at, and help build on that, rather than, oh, well, you're not good at this, you should do better. And of course, we want to encourage our children to learn new things as well. But once, it's also important for us to remember that, not everybody's great at everything. So it's important to try to think of what they're good at, for, really good at right now, and I said, go from there. Also, involve children in setting boundaries and making rules. As parents, we must help our kids set boundaries and live with rules, but we can give them an active role in deciding what those boundaries and rules are. And I always go back to the Strengthening Families program, because, like I said, a lot of this information that we cover in the program is in this presentation, just kind of a condensed version. But in that, there is one lesson where they talk about rules and rule setting, and how it's important for the family to come up with the rules. So the families would sit together at a table, sit together for maybe, 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, not too long. I mean, even shorter if that, but everyone kind of comes up with rules as a family. So the children are able to come up with rules for themselves. Um, and, even, setting boundaries as well. And what's really important about having being the whole family being involved, and especially with children being involved in the rule setting, it's you can also set up consequences for some rules that they may break. So say it's a rule of them staying out to, say they have a curfew time, if they have to be home by a certain time, well, the kids agree to that. And then also everyone agrees to the consequence. So what makes that important is that when they come up with the rules together and agree together, then they they have more accountability for their actions, because they help set those rules themselves. So and most of the time they may end up following them more, because they're part of the rulemaking situation as well. Also, be real with our children. By communicating openly and often with our children, they will be able to relate to us as people who are truly concerned about their well-being. We also need to be courteous. Simple courtesies such as saying please and thank you, and helping out in small ways goes a long way to show how much we care. Basic good manners, showing care and respect. And if we give respect, we get it back. So just saying simple, thank yous for if they helped out with even the smallest chore, or, if they never put their dishes up, or even if the first time or few times they do, just saying, thank you, or, even when you're asking them to do something as well, please goes a long way as well. And the tone that we use is very important when we say some of these things too. We talked a lot about that with the family communication, is how tone can definitely change the way that something comes across. Um, and also using those I statements is very important too. Anything you'd like to add on it?
Sure. I I believe that setting those boundaries is wonderful in that, if you have your family rules and you're setting them and they know your family values, they're going to try really hard to keep those boundaries within their family and not allow anyone to change the way they think or the way they're brought up if there's good values in the family. And so um appreciating, just appreciating that, and then understanding that, the special strength that they have handed down from family members, and just being communicating with them about those things. And we all know that, we want our best for our children, and we like to compare sometimes our children to our family members or to each other. And we constantly, I know in my family, oh, my grandson's like him, or my grandson's like, so and so. And so, but they all each have different talents and gifts that they're not really sure they have just yet. And just observing them and guiding them as to, what, what their talents are really helps them and guides them to being that person they eventually want to be when they grow up.
Thank you. All right. So here, as I mentioned, I was gonna add a video to show to y'all on how to parents, so teens will talk to you. So it's a neat little video to kind of show like how some communication skills that that parents can use to help have a better relationship with their teen.
You want to be the kind of parent who your child chooses to talk to. There's two main reasons that you want to have a healthy communicative relationship with your teen or tween. The first is it affects your relationship now and far into the future. And what your relationship is like in your home really is the launching pad from which your child's going to enter other relationships. And when you ground their relationship in the kind of communication strategy that says we listen to each other, it's a really healthy way to launch into adulthood. But there's another reason. When you communicate openly with your child, and when your child chooses to communicate openly with you, it is a wonderful way to be able to monitoring them. And monitoring them is key to keeping them safe. You see, it's not what you ask, it's what you know. And what you know is dependent on what your kid chooses to tell you. So knowing how to be the kind of parent whose child chooses to talk to them is one of the best ways of keeping your kids safe and having the healthiest relationship. So let's talk about some things not to do. You need to know that kids tend not to talk to overprotective parents. If parents tend to hover or helicopter or install control buttons, kids tend to back off because they're afraid of their parents finding out what's going on in their life, because they're going to put extra rules on. Kids tend not to talk to parents when they feel like they're talked at, not with. Kids talk to the kind of parents who are both loving and warm, who are flexible to meet their needs, and who care about safety and who monitor their behavior. That's called balanced parenting. They monitor only when it's involved with safety or morality. Why do kids talk to those parents the most? Because kids want to be safe. They want to be moral. Kids don't like drama from their parents. There's enough drama in middle school. There's enough drama among their friends. They want their parents to be stable forces. So let me tell you some things not to do. First, turn off that parent alarm. What does the parent alarm look like? Mom, I met this girl. You're too young to date. Mom, my friend Paul is using drugs. I don't want you ever hanging out with Paul again. Your fear turned on the alarm, and as a result, it shut off communication. Right there was a great opportunity to talk about drugs, to talk about healthy sexuality, but you won't because you jumped.
Okay. So yeah, like I said, hopefully those are some helpful insight or tips for parents to really open those lines of communication with their teens. There's a few more tips here that I'll share with you as well. The first one is to involve them in extracurricular activities. Teens spend their time and energy worrying about how they look to others, especially friends, but too much introspection doesn't really make anyone happy. Happy teens are those that are able to look beyond themselves and engage with others. One of the best things you can do for your teens is encourage them to take up extracurricular activities, which include arts and crafts, music, sports, and there's a whole variety list of things that they can definitely be involved in. So just trying to encourage them a little bit to, maybe get someone, doing something differently. Also offer, having volunteer opportunities. Teens are even happier when they're doing something meaningful for others instead of just hanging out with others. I know some families encourage this, already, and which is great. And then some, there may be some teens that also do it on their own. And because there's also lots of organizations that teens are involved with where they are where they need to do volunteer hours. But I think this, just makes, a lot of for them to have some, gratitude as well, especially when they're volunteering. And there's so many, different opportunities out there for them to volunteer with. Also be a parent and a friend, which is kind of hard. Sometimes that's a little fine line that parents might walk. But just knowing that, you're a parent, but also can, you want to be there. You can also be a friend to, a certain point as well. Another thing that makes teens happy is when parents treat them as friends and not just as kids. Teens need you to guide them into adulthood and to teach them how to make good choices, but they also need you to be there for them as people that they can trust and confide in. Also, being able to listen well. Be a genuine friend to your teens. Listen carefully to what they share with you and try not to judge them. Just being there to listen is very important, I believe. There's times where teens just need to vent and they don't necessarily need the advice. And that's something you can be straight up forward with them is ask them like, hey, okay, do you just want me to listen? Um, or would you like me to provide guidance or advice? I think that, that's okay to ask as well. And we tell the students that we work with as well that that's something important for them to tell not only their parents, but a friend that sometimes they just want them to be a listening ear and not necessarily have to give them advice or tell them what they should do. They just need somebody there to be listening ear for them. Also, being a role model to raise happy teens, you also need to be happy yourself. So it's important for parents to also make sure to practice self-care. If you're in a good place and your children know, I mean, they can read people very well. When we go into classrooms, I've gone into some classrooms where it just hasn't been a great day for me, and they know it. They will ask like, "Hey, Miss, are you okay? You seem a little off." So they can definitely read people very well. But it's important, for parents especially, to take care of themselves so that they can be the best person for their children too. Anna, did you want to end with any last comments?
Yes, and when we're thinking about all these extracurricular activities and volunteer opportunities and being that friend, it really just, as a family unit, doing all of these things together, most, most teens, I would say, or children won't do these unless they're shown. to, if the parents are doing them together as well, and they'll be more proactive later on to wanting to be to do volunteer opportunities, and volunteer opportunities are a great opportunity for them to excel in a lot of in the future, or the things that they want to be career wise. And it's also great for the community. It gives back to the community, and as a family it's great, that kind of communication and connection with each other really builds a more healthier family unit.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. About how if they see you doing it, yes, they'll be more likely to do that as well. That even happens in the classroom when the children or students see the teachers being engaged in our presentations, then they're more likely to be engaged in the presentation and very interested in it as well. Thank you for
Yes.
sharing that insight. All right, well, that takes us to the end of the presentation. I don't think I saw any questions, but if you do have questions later on, my contact information is there for you. Also on the next slide, I'm gonna share with you a QR code with our evaluation link, and I'm also going to put the links in the chat box as well. So thank you again for allowing Phoenix House to have this parent series with y'all. We hope that we can continue this partnership, and please, in the survey, please let us know if you have any, suggestions. We're also looking for ways how we can improve our services. But thank you again. And like I said, I will put that the links in the chat box.
And someone has
I'm
asked if
sorry, I
they'll
have a
get a
question.
Oh,
copy.
yes. Okay.
The recording, will it be sent out to the group or no?
Yes. Yes, it will be. It's going to be, well, it's going to be on the PfISD, I believe, website, correct, Dana?
It's on our YouTube channel. Let me
YouTube,
put
okay.
that in the chat box for you real quick.
Perfect.
Yeah, let me pull that up. And I'm gonna copy it. So that's our YouTube channel right there. You can also do YouTube. It's at PfISD, Parent Family Engagement. And that's where we have our videos, all of our lunch and learns for the year. We've got 15 so far, so there's plenty of for you guys to peruse through. And of course, we'll add more next year. This was our last lunch and learn of this school year. So we'll have more next year. And if you guys want to see anything else, send me an email and let me know what you guys want to see for next year so that we can get working on setting up those lunch and learns for you. And it's Dana Wilcott, dana.wilcott@pfisd.net. So thank you guys for joining. I really love this series. We're so grateful to Phoenix House for sharing stronger minds and brighter futures. It's been a really good series. Thank you guys.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Great
Thank you. Have a
presentation.
wonderful day.